Oh man, how's it going, guys? Derek here. I have some sad news to report. Today, the lead singer of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, committed suicide at age 41. And that's a painfully young age, especially with someone as nice and as charismatic as Chester was. And of course, this comes off the heels of their last album, which was horribly received by a lot of people. Now, before I get on to everything else, I'd say I grew up with Linkin Park. I love their music. You know, Chester's such an amazing singer and he's a really nice guy from what I've heard from people. And it's just sad to see because they were the first band I ever really got into as a teenager, 12 or 13 years old. Now, if you guys know anything about me, you guys will know that when I was growing up, all I listened to was the Beatles because my dad would play the Beatles over and over again. He drilled that in my head because he would take records and he would transfer them over to cassette tapes. And of course, now he's doing it from cassette tapes to CDs. But that's pretty much all I heard my whole life was Beatles, 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 and I also heard like John Lennon and Paul McCartney, their side projects as well, because he liked that stuff, obviously, because they were in the band and they had broken up, but he loved the side projects. And of course, when he left, when my parents got divorced, I actually had my first computer as well, and I would go on YouTube looking up videos for Tales Symphonia on the GameCube. This really cool RPG, one of my favorite games of all time, actually. And I saw these videos of, they were called FMVs, of like people playing doing gameplay, but they put Linkin Park songs over it. They put any song they want to over it, because this is before copyright. This is 2006 to like 2008, when copyright wasn't really a big deal, when there weren't even really ads on YouTube yet. Ad revenue was still a new thing, if not even non-existent yet. And of course, when they did put ads in, I was like, man, this sucks. But now they do YouTube, it's actually nice to know that there's ads in there, because that's how you get, you know, your revenue and stuff. But my first CD I ever got was Hybrid Theory. I'd listen to those songs, and I had my dad go to BJ's, which is a big box store, like Costco, if you guys have heard of that. And it's kind of like the equivalent of that. And I went there and I got this nice round CD player. You know the one with the lid, you flick it and the lid goes up? It's kind of like the PS2 Slims. And I would literally, my dad bought me Hybrid Theory. That's the first CD I ever bought. I popped it in and I loved it from Paper Cut all the way to In the End. Not In the End. The last song on that album, I forgot the last song. Pushing Me Away, before I forget, Pushing Me Away. Very amazing closer of the album. And then a month after that, I ended up picking up Meteor. And unfortunately, I do not have the CDs in my collection still. I might actually have to buy them just to honor his legacy and buy his all his other albums as well. Even the Stone Temple Pilots EP that he did, which was short-lived but still really good. And I loved them ever since. Even when Minutes to Midnight came out and people were slamming them for doing something different. Even when A Thousand Suns came out and people were slamming that, I was kind of slamming it myself. Even now, there's still times I listen to it, I'm like, do I love it? Do I hate it? It's one of those albums you go back to, it's like sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. It's kind of like a blue moon, you have to listen to it at the right time. You have to listen to it when the stars are aligned, and when the cows are coming home, or, you know, whatever. Or like you're in the right mood to listen to it. And then Living Things came out, and they're still getting slammed a lot by critics and fans. But I love Living Things. I thought it was like I think Living Things is still their third best album, because it still has all the elements of their older stuff. It just has more electronics in it, but at least it has rock and electronic elements in the same thing. Because A Thousand Suns was pretty much how like dubstep or like electronics with rock on it, but I feel like with Living Things it was rock with electronics on it, and I feel like it melded a lot more. And of course you had The Hunting Party, which was like this hard rocking like boom of an album. And then now of course you have One More Light, which people are saying sucks. And I have to agree, but I will say there are a couple good songs on it. Like Good Goodbye is the main one I like, because it has all these rappers, Pusha T and Mike Shinoda, and I forgot who the third guy on it was, but it's actually a really amazing song, and it's very emotional. I will say One More Light is very emotional of an album. And while I will say the rest of the album kind of sucks, there were a couple songs I do like on it. You know, it just sucks that they had to end their legacy with that album, because it's such a, you know, low point in their career. And I'm not sure, that's probably not why he killed himself. I heard he battled alcohol and drug addiction before. It's pretty much like how Chris Cornell did the same thing, like not even a month ago or 2 months ago. It's just sad because these guys kind of came from the same era almost. Because the early 90s, late 80s was the grunge era, full of angst and energy. as with, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, with nu metal being a thing. So it's kind of like the same parallel, just different times, but the same decade. And they're of course a very emotional band as well. People would say they're a little whinier than other bands, a little whiny like in that whiny nu metal era, but I think out of all the nu metal bands, Linkin Park were one of the best. They were definitely better than Limp Bizkit. I used to love Limp Bizkit, not as much as I used to. But Linkin Park, even though the music is kind of cringeworthy, their earliest material even, it's still great music. It's still great to listen to, you know, Linkin Park's Meteor and Hybrid Theory. Still great albums to listen to. Even Minutes to Midnight with experimentation. I loved the experimentation on that. It's just sad to see someone who's 41. And 41, especially nowadays, is not that old. You know, I think old to me is like 70 or older. You know, much respect to my elders out there, but I think 70 to like 80 is old. 40 is not even that old, especially nowadays with diet and exercise. 41 is still plenty young for somebody that his, you know, especially with his charisma and his energy. And it's just sad to see somebody like that go. I thought it was a joke at first. I was on Twitter, and somebody named Jericho, a fellow gamer and YouTuber, he reported on it. He was upset too. It literally just broke out like 10 minutes ago. And I was a little hesitant to do a video on it, because people say you should do videos about dead people, you know, you're gonna make money off of it, you know, views, all this stuff. But hell, if I'm gonna, you know, I want to talk about somebody who I grew up with. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I'm sure there's gonna be tons of other videos about this as well. I wanted to be one of the first because I think, you know, I saw it, so I figured I'm gonna shoot a video about it because I love these guys. I love the band. I don't know what they're gonna do now with him being gone. They might go and do their side projects. Might go back to Fort Minor. I don't know what they're gonna do, but rest in peace, Chester Bennington. You were an amazing guy. Great singer. I loved your music. Rest in peace. I have a moment of silence for the guy. I don't know how long. That was like maybe 3 seconds. I don't know how long a moment of silence is supposed to go, but he's actually an inspiration for me and why I love music today, because when I listen to Linkin Park, I was like, ooh, what else can I listen to? He's kind of like a domino, they're like a domino band. What else can I listen to? I like really went on the computer, listened to all this stuff. It wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gotten into Sum 41 either, because I listened to them right after. Because I was playing a game called Maple Story, and there's a lot of videos on that as well. And the first Sum 41 track I ever heard was Over My Head, Better Off Dead. And that song is amazing. It's actually off my favorite album from them, Does Look Infected. And that's actually one of my favorite albums of all time. And I got into other bands from that as well, like Caesar, which I'm not a big fan of them anymore. But, you know, I got into other bands of that kind of genre. And it was cool because it's just, they're kind of a gateway band, you know, for a lot of people. They're kind of the first band you listen to, but then you listen to other stuff. And I loved them and other bands in general. Now, before I end the video, I'm going to say this. Please, no more rockers die this year. It's probably going to happen, but please, we've had enough heartache. 2017 this year is still better than last year. You know, losing Prince and, you know, all these other people, David Bowie, losing all these other rockers. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this too, I should go back and listen to some of that older music in tribute of them, because I never listened to David Bowie or Prince before, and I should go back and listen to them. And it sucks because I wasn't around. This is why I wish I was around during the 90s and the 80s. I kind of wish I was born earlier on to discover this music, but at least now I have this title where I can discover all this old music and stuff, as long as it's on there with all these licensing issues and stuff like that. But that's gonna do it for me. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Kind of, you know, this sad news, very sad video. I wasn't actually planning on making a video today, but I saw that and I was like, oh man, I gotta make a video on it, because I know if I don't, it's just not gonna feel right, you know. One of my favorite bands of all time, even though they've kind of sunk down the list, they're still very inspirational for me and what I do. A lot of the music kept me through middle and high school, and of course me working 2 jobs now, Big Y and McDonald's, it's just crazy to think. 1 minute you're here, another second you're gone, and it's just sad. I wish somebody would have caught him in the act and would have seen him before he did it and would have put him through therapy or something, but that never, you know, of course, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I think everything happens for a reason. So, again, before the video runs too long, I hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys around. And remember, if you want to commit suicide, please call the suicide hotline. do not hesitate to call the suicide hotline if you're thinking about it. Just take a second, breathe, call the hotline, or talk to a friend, talk to a family member, do something. Suicide is never the option. Remember that. And make sure you guys keep swinging.